at you like an Archie had for your brain. It's MVP Mutant Radio.
Hey, Mutantville. This is Gio. I'm here with the guys from Corpus Press, and I'll do the roll call. Actually, I'll let them do the roll call. So we'll start with Mr. Evans Light.
Hey, this is Evans Light with Corpus Press. Thanks for having us, Gio.
No problem. Next.
I guess I'll go second. It's Jason Parent talking over Gregor Xane.
And this is Gregor Xane being talked over by Jason Parent.
Adam is here.
Cool. And what happens if I hit the wrong button? But everything. Sorry, I killed the slideshow, but we got the slideshow is back running. So, well, the reason we're doing the podcast is they have a book coming out, and well, actually, I guess it's already out. So, who wants to go first, talking about the book? Because I'm guessing
I'll start it off. This is Evans talking. This is really a culmination of something that we've been working on for a little while. In fact, we were on your podcast, or I was, back in 2014, I believe, with the very first Halloween themed collection that Corpus Press did, which was called Bad Apples. And we had a lot of fun doing that together, and so we've gone through 3 different years of doing Bad Apples, and this year we thought we'd open it up, have a broader open invitation for authors to submit. We've got a lot of stories that we went through, and think we really pulled together a nice collection of Halloween themed stories, and so far the reception has been really good. I don't know if you guys have anything to add about what we did with Bad Apples that led us to this point. But feel free to jump in.
Well, I mean, Bad Apples, I think, is maybe more for a crowd that's maybe into some darker and more twisted material, right? And I think that with the Doorbells at Dusk, we're kind of going for a wider audience. I think that we're looking at stuff that's still scary, right, and bizarre, and some spooky tales, but if you're a person listening that wants to get something particularly nasty, you might want to go with the Bad Apples as well as the Doorbells at Dusk.
Ooh.
That's my take on it, at least.
Okay, cool. So it's not like the Charlie Brown Halloween thing is what you're saying?
No, none of it's definitely not the Charlie Brown Halloween, all right? But
not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with the Charlie. Well, I don't know. I haven't seen it in quite a while, so I can't really say. But
I haven't either. So, but
yeah, I would say with the Bad Apple series, we kind of had a template, and it started out with five authors, the 4 of us, and also Edward Lorne, and we had a tradition where the last story of the book was pretty much the most crazy story in the book, and we really see how far we kind of push the limits of the form in terms of horror and just content. And so with the first Bad Apples, we had Edward Lorne's Scare Rose, which was featured corn cobs in a haunted corn maze with a wide variety of, I don't know how you want to say it, sexual entanglements with corn cobs and other sort of corn related things. So it was pretty extreme, and people either really, really loved that or hated it. And I would say the rest of the book was different varieties of horror. Jason had a great monster story in the first Bad Apples that dealt with the theme of bullying. What was your monster in that, Jason?
It was my own original creation, of course. Why would I use anything else? No, seriously, it was just some kind of creature that lived in kind of like The original name of the story was called The Space Between, but these guys all vetoed it for good reason. So kind of like The Space Between the Air. It was kind of not quite imaginary realm, but like a alternate universe, and it would slip all through, and it befriended this little boy who was bullied by some other boys who lived to regret it. Well, did not live to regret it. So you'll have to read it to find out.
Yeah, it was a great story, and the first one had two stories that were kind of on the theme of bullying, with mine being from the perspective of the bullied, and Jason's kind of being from the perspective of the boy, and then Adam had a great story in there called Ghostlight Road, which had to do with a Jacksonville local urban legend, which I got to experience myself. Is Ghostlight Road gone now, Adam?
Yeah, it's gone.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, what do you mean, they paved it, or like they?
Yeah, they built a housing development there, actually.
You should write a sequel that takes place in the housing development, right? You know.
Yeah.
The weird thing is I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but of all things, Doritos had like these short film advertisements that they did around Halloween. And one of them was exactly the story of Ghostlight Road told in a 2-minute short film format.
Yeah.
So I think they owe Adam some royalties for that one for sure.
All the Doritos I can eat.
Did you ever get that?
No.
They never followed through that. That's thing.
So that could be like a crap ton of Doritos then.
Yeah, like a huge.
Yeah, I don't know if that came from that story, but the similarities are eerie, and even stranger is Gregor's story in that book, which kicked it off. Was called The Wriggled, and it is really a classic Halloween story. One of my favorites. And it sets up its own mythology. And just, what was it, this year or last Halloween, Gregor, that we saw a poster for a movie? Was it last Halloween?
It was within the last year, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, we were online and came across a movie called Bad Apples. And on the cover of the poster, it had two twins wearing masks, and the synopsis of it sounded very, very much like Gregor's story in the first Bad Apples movie, or the first Bad Apples book. But I think he took one for the team and went and watched the movie and did not say it was.
Yeah, I had the most skin in the game, right? So I did take a look at it. I actually read it, right, to see if there was any real similarities to it. And aside from the title of it being Bad Apples and it featuring two mischievous killer twins on Halloween, there were no other similarities really between that film and my story. So unfortunately, it wasn't a big production, and they didn't rip off my stuff, and I couldn't assume
the movie. Wasn't there a subplot in the movie with an author named Gregor Xane that they killed so they wouldn't have to pay royalties?
Yeah, it was something like that. They did a lot more to him other than kill him before. Yeah. It was very similar to the Scarecrows type of situation. I remember, if I recall correctly.
So they raped him with different vegetables.
Yes, a rutabaga.
Yeah, that's.
I thought a rutabaga was a type of mobile home. Is that a vegetable?
Yeah, it is. It is a vegetable, and it might be also a type of mobile home. I'm not 100% certain.
It would be funny to see as a thing to kill people with in a movie or something, because it's just such a long-sounding thing of death.
Well, yeah.
It's the rutabaga killer. Just
feel free to write that down for the next. Bill.
Okay.
No, that's free.
Okay.
Get that one free of charge.
There's our next short film. So anyway, the Bad Apples one was just kind of an idea that one of us came up with. We kind of worked all together as a team, came up with the name, put it out there, and it was really well received, and we started getting a lot of correspondence about, okay, Bad Apples 2 coming. So So we decided to go ahead and do a second one. We invited Keelan Patrick Burke to join us. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but a lot of people who are into more modern horror are usually pretty big fans of Keelan Patrick Burke. He's got a novel called Kin that is really kind of a modern classic, but he contributed a story to the second one. And I think Gregor had the freak out story at the end of the second Bad Apples, which is Dr. Proclivity and Professor Propensity, which is it probably does have some obscene parts, but it's I think you remember it more for being a psychedelic freak out more than the obscenities that it contains.
Right.
Probably the closest you can get to having a psychedelic trip without taking anything. It's pretty good. Then it takes up a good portion of that book, and then for the final installment of Bad Apples, which many people have wanted us to continue the Bad Apple series. I like the Bad Apple series, but we had the theme of adding additional authors to each book, so that way we kind of increase the volume for each one. And honestly, in my opinion, best things come in threes. I've never seen like a movie trilogy where part 4 was the best. So we figure we'd go out while we were on top. Maybe there is one.
Episode 1 was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
What was?
Episode 1. The Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
That was the best one.
Yeah, Jar Jar is probably the best character ever created. And silence! No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. It's always fun to say that kind of stuff just because.
I think they used the phrase, I have a bad feeling about this very early.
Yeah, probably so. When they first said when they first had a reading, they're like, I just want to go, yeah, that's probably a good way to go with that voice. Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah, I think they offended pretty much like 80% of the world's population within the first 10 minutes of the movie. So it was pretty. I was offended, not for the right reasons. So.
Yeah,
right.
Not a good offended.
No, not a good offended. Just kind of culturally offended. But with Bad Apples 3, we brought in a few new authors to join us. So we had John McNee, who writes some really unique and compelling fiction. We invited in Craig Saunders, I should say, who had a very MC Escher type of tale that's pretty unique, and also Mark Matthews, who doesn't write a lot of horror fiction, but he makes up for his lack of prolificness with really some quality work, and a lot of his work deals with addiction, but his contribution to this did not, to my recollection, but it was called Body of Christ, and it's since been expanded into a novella that's been pretty well received, and our own Jason Parent had the honors of doing the grand finale for Bad Apples 3 with you want to tell us a little bit about that story, Jason?
Yeah, it's called Pulp, and the name kind of pretty much says it all. It was a bunch of characters all dressed like iconic movie characters, and all the deaths occurred in a way that iconic way that occurred in, like, for example, my favorite death of any horror movie ever is when Jason takes the kid in the sleeping bag and just smashes her against a tree.
Yeah.
So I use that as one of them. And I don't know if you've seen Sleepaway Camp 2, but I use this death from that scene as well.
No, I've not seen Sleepaway.
Who hasn't seen that?
What?
I mean, have you seen it, Gio?
I don't think so.
What?
Have
you seen the first at least?
Yeah, I've seen the first. Yeah.
I just watched the first one in the last few months and didn't know anything about it. I went in and watched it completely cold, and it was a pretty incredible experience, I would say. I just added Sleepaway Camp 2 and the sequels just got added to Amazon Prime. I just added the second one to my watch list, but whether I will actually ever watch it or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I watched the last frame of Sleepaway Camp for 3 hours.
Take you that long to finish, huh?
yeah. I just hit pause and sat there for 3 hours. Yeah.
Everybody needs a hobby. So Evans, one thing you said that would be cool, because I don't know, when you said that the fourth part of the trilogies aren't usually good. So, but if y'all do a fourth one, you got to call it the fourth part of the trilogy.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
Yeah, just because that's just funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
So,
and we may someday. Who knows? You know, if we get desperate enough and everything goes off the cliff, and we're tired of selling our plasma,
like Crystal Skull, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, or like some horror movies you can do, Bad Apple's 27, the 27th part of the trilogy. But then don't do the other ones, just like, because some horror movies you kind of wonder, like, what happened, even like our old Kung Fu movies, what happened to, 3 through 7 or something. It's like so-and-so 8, it's what happened.
Yeah, like the house movies, I think, do that.
I don't know if anybody can get this joke, but I'm still wondering what happened in Leonard 1 through 5.
Oh yeah.
That movie may be hard to find now.
Yeah,
doing 15 to life right now, I think.
Yeah, I think they found out what happened in those in Discovery recently.
Yeah, I was gonna say those probably won't be filmed now, but they may have a totally different. Different.
Maybe they were filmed and he just couldn't show it.
They turned into prison rape exploitation.
Yeah. They were evidence, yeah.
So, one thing that y'all were just talking about movies, do you have any like favorite Halloween movies that you watch like every Halloween?
I mean, I like to watch Trick or Treat relatively often. I don't say it's like an annual tradition, but I do find that to be a pretty fantastic Halloween one. Not the heavy metal one from the 80s, right? The one that was released within the last 10 years or something like that. Trick or Treat.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like a it's an anthology film, right? But it's kind of it's got a kind of a pulp fiction structure to it, where you'll see different characters from each different little story popping up in the other stories in the anthology. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
I actually have not seen that. Our like horror expert would be Strebo, that's not on here today. I know when he's going to be listening to this, he's going to be like, I can't believe he's not seen that. But because he's like, when we were working on our first feature film, he only watched horror movies like for like 2 or 3 years. I mean, that's all he was doing, is either reading horror or watching horror. And he already had a lot of, but every time I'd go over to his house, we were watching stuff from like all over the world. They were watching horror movies from like China and Korea,
right?
Just all over the place. And because there's a lot of, it's funny like to see like vampire movies, for example, like or zombie movies from different countries, because there's just different, I guess, traditions and stuff. But he's the one that would, I'm sure, have seen that.
There's supposedly a Trick or Treat 2 coming out. I've been hearing about it for like 3 or 4 years, but
right.
I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything lately on that. That Krampus movie that the same guy made was pretty good. I enjoyed that. Have you seen that?
I actually have seen that. Yeah.
I didn't know it was by the same director though.
Yeah, the Krampus that came out within the last, I guess 3 years probably. It's probably been. Same director did that. It's a really good movie.
That was good.
How about you, Adam? You've been plowing through some films lately. You find anything good for Halloween?
I mean, I always stand by the classics when it comes to Halloween. Titanic. It's always good.
Oh, you watch comedies?
Yeah, I love comedy. It's always good to watch Titanic on Halloween. Family Guy.
Oh yeah. So do you actually watch horror movies? Do you actually make a point to watch horror films or in the Octoberland?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I try to. I always say, "Oh, I'm gonna watch 10 in a row," but I never do. I only end up watching a couple. But what? Go ahead, Adam. What were you gonna say?
The one that we typically watch is Creepshow. Invasion of the Body Snatchers always comes up in October for some reason. It's always
which one?
Oh, the 70. I think it's 78. One with Donald Sutherland.
Oh yeah,
wonderful movie. Scary all the way up until the end, and then boobs.
What do you mean?
Like the last 10 minutes, just nonstop boobs.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I must have only seen the made for TV. I mean, not the made for TV one, the one that was cut for TV or something, because I don't remember that.
I'm guessing you're going to be revisiting that very soon.
I was going to say somebody's going to be checking that movie out later.
Well, yeah, I mean that and Life Force, right, back to back.
Oh, man, I remember seeing that at the movies with my dad, and that was just the best experience ever.
Yeah. Are we sure you didn't tape over it with Sleepaway Camp ending?
With Titanic.
Or you sure you didn't like cut out all the Jar Jar scenes and edit them together to make like a Jar Jar movie?
Oh yeah.
That would be considered a horror movie, probably.
That would be something else, right? Yeah.
I think you should take that final shot from Sleepaway Camp and replace the head with Jar Jar.
Now that would be something. Like if you could just digitally insert that character, right? Yeah, into the Star Wars films. Yeah. Now I'd watch that.
So do y'all have any kind of Halloween traditions that you do every year, like parties or scaring kids or going to haunted trails or like faking your own death, anything like that?
I'm pretty old now, so what I do is I hand out the candy to the youngsters, but I sit on the front porch and I don't give them candy unless they say trick or treat. So that oftentimes it's just me staring at these little kids for a long time, but they're just looking at me like, because nobody trains them. Nobody trains these kids to say trick or treat. Right? So I'm just sitting there looking at them. Then eventually I have to say, well, what do you say? Then some parent from the background says, trick or treat. And trick or treat. And then I give them the candy. But I don't give them candy unless they say.
How sorry are parents now? I mean, how much teaching does that take to go, okay, when you go up to the house, say trick or treat?
Yeah,
I mean that doesn't seem like a lesson, that would take hours to teach a kid. I mean, I don't remember being taught, like, we weren't sat down with a book going, okay, you just saw somebody do it, and then every time you went to the house, you said trick or treat.
It's not real difficult.
I don't know why I'm picturing you grabbing the kids by the back of the neck, shoving their face in the candy bowl and saying, say trick or treat, say it, say trick or treat.
Or slapping their hands when they reach for candy. Nope, you didn't say it.
That has not happened since I got put in witness protection.
Yeah, good plan.
Yes.
since the cops sit outside your house on Halloween.
Right. But that is a pretty lame tradition. Yeah. Now that I'm an old person. So yeah. So Jason, parent, what do you watch in the Octoberland?
For some reason, it seems to be Dr. Giggles comes up every October for me. It's
really?
Not a favorite movie. I like it.
Drake.
But it comes on and I start watching it and I get just sucked into Dr. Giggles or Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Those two movies.
I do like Killer Clowns. Now, I've probably only seen Giggles once, so I don't remember much about that one.
I've never seen Dr. Giggles, but Killer Clowns is a Halloween tradition here. It sucks us in. Even the kids will sit down and watch that one.
I don't think other than that, we used to go to Halloween Horror Nights, and Spooky World and those kind of places every year. But I guess I'm getting old.
Yeah, we actually got to interview Larry Drake at one of the Fright Night Film Fest in Louisville, and he was just a super nice guy. He's done some writing as well, and he's even done, like, he had come to North Carolina and done like some theater up here, and just a really nice guy. So we talked to him about Dr. Giggles and stuff. So, and we also talked to him about the Scarecrow. Night of the Scare. What is Dark? Yeah, Dark Night of the Scarecrow. Having a hard time remembering it.
So didn't that guy have a claim to fame before he became Dr. Giggles? I mean, wasn't he on like
L.A. Law?
L.A. Law.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I knew he was on some sort of network television program, right? So all right.
That's with Corbin Burnson, who became the dentist.
Oh, that's right. I never thought of the connection between those two. That's crazy.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Dexter killed people. That's about all I got for him.
Yeah, I think that's why I watched Dr. Giggles, is because L.A. Law's character was still too fresh in my mind. That's all I could see when I saw that movie. I'll have to go back and watch it again now.
Yeah, he's a super nice guy, though. And, one second, I was getting ready to... Now, do you have any current horror movies that y'all have liked? Like anything newer?
Yes. The Evil Within. Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
No, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, that's a fantastic movie. If Jason or Adam, have you seen that one yet? The Evil Within is not related at all to the video game.
No, I haven't seen it.
I was going to say I have the video game, but I didn't know about the movie.
Yeah. No, it's like this movie that's made by some heir to some sort of oil fortune. Is that what it is, Evans, or what? Yeah, some kind of.
I was trying to look it up to see. Yeah, but he was independently wealthy from his family inheritance,
and he spent all of his inheritance on it. Yeah,
he was from oil. The Getty family.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was the Getty family. Yeah, so he spent his entire inheritance on it, and drugs, and probably hookers. I'm not 100% sure, but he definitely had like a methamphetamine issue, and I think heroin as well. I'm not 100% sure, but he definitely had some drug problems in addition to horror movie production problems, right? So it was an obsession for years. And he'd worked on it for, I think, 10 or 15 years. 15
years by himself, pretty much, bit by bit. And he developed some like new visual techniques on his own for it that are pretty amazing, honestly.
Yeah, and he built, he was hands-on building all the sets. Most of the film, a lot of the film was shot in his own home. It's a really fantastic, idiosyncratic film, and it's got that guy in it from The Hills Have Eyes.
Michael Barrymore or Barry, something like that. Man,
I think it might be Michael Barry or something like that. I'm not 100% sure what that guy's last name is, but he's the guy that's famous for being on the Hills Have Eyes poster, I guess. I mean, I'm sure he's a character in the film, but I've never seen it. But
yeah, the creepy bald guy.
The creepy bald guy with the weird eyelids aren't there or something. I don't know. He's got something weird about his face, but yeah.
Played like the same character in Weird Science. Oh, no, don't remember Weird Science.
I do remember Weird Science, but he's not in that, is he?
I think he shows up with the biker gang.
He does.
Okay, all right. That's cool, that cat. Yeah, he's in it. Yeah, and it's a really fantastic movie. I mean, it's been on Amazon Prime as free.
It's a free streaming still right now, I think, on Amazon Prime. I would recommend, and that's really the only place you can see it in high def too. Because if you want to order it, it's only on DVD, I believe.
Right, and the central performance of the film is really fantastic. The main character of it, the actor that plays the main character, does a fantastic job. It's really a great quirky horror film. So that's definitely one of my favorites over the past few years. Is the Evil.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. When I sat down and watched this, I had no idea what I was getting into, and when it was over, it was very similar to the first time I saw Phantasm. It was just a singular vision executed with no interference, and it was its own thing,
right?
Unapologetically so.
Right.
Yeah, I fully recommend that one. It's sad because the guy died like right before it was finished.
Right.
But thankfully, people went ahead and finished up the editing and actually released it. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, it really is.
Oh, it's got Sean Patrick Flannery in it also. That was in. Oh man! Of course, my mind goes blank now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of the leads are, I guess fairly well-known character actors, right? I mean,
Boondock Saints.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and the guy that's the main lead, he's had some, mainstream film or television roles as well. I don't remember his name though, but yeah, I mean, it's got some pretty good talent in it. Yeah, it's. I mean, the guy had the money to spend,
Yeah.
Yeah. The Halloween movie I've been beating everybody up about here lately is Murder Party, which was directed by the same guy that did The Green Room recently, and he also had a film called Blue Ruin, which is just one of my favorites of all time, featuring Macon Blair. But his very first movie was a horror movie called Murder Party that's set on Halloween, and it's really gory, really
Halloween?
funny.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, it's set on Halloween, and
back to you then. All right.
The only way you'll see it is if some crazy horror author sends you a copy in the mail.
Well, now actually, it's now available for streaming on Netflix.
Well, look at that.
Yeah.
Wow, there's like 4 movies called Murder Party.
But this one is by
Paul Saunier.
It's which one?
Is
the one we're never mind.
Paul Saunier, I believe, is the director.
Jeremy Saunier. I don't know how you say his last name, but it's Jeremy. It's his first name. You got the last name right.
All right. No.
Yeah, I think I was going to watch the new film by him, but you blasted it, Evans, didn't you?
Go ahead and watch it and see what you think. What was that called? In the Dark? Like that? I forget. Out of the Dark?
Oh, yeah. A lot of people like that. It's like it's a made for Netflix original type thing, isn't it? Into the Dark or something like that?
Did you see that, Adam?
Yeah, Hold the Dark, right?
Oh, that's right. That's what it's called. Hold the
Dark.
Yeah,
it wasn't good.
Damn. Two no's. It looks good. It's got. I love that guy from Westworld.
Which guy is that?
Yeah,
Bernard from Westworld.
Jeffrey. Yeah. He's the same exact character in that movie. I would say.
He really is. Very robotic.
Yeah, he looks like he's on Quaaludes throughout the movie. But
spoiler alert.
I will say though, that movie has one scene in it that probably is the best example of a shootout ever to be put on film. So even if you don't watch the whole movie, I would say watch that shootout scene because it is a masterclass in tension. I don't know what you thought about that part, Adam. Did you like the shootout scene?
Yeah, that was great. It was a beautiful scene, but it didn't raise that movie above what it was.
No.
Ultimately, it was really about nothing.
It's not a horror film though. It's what is it, like a crime film or something? Or was it a mixed genre thing?
I don't know what it was, honestly.
Yeah. It aspired to be many things, but it ultimately was just not a whole lot.
Okay. Yeah, I generally don't watch the Netflix original movies. I don't know that I've seen one of them. I don't think.
I was disappointed because the last Netflix original film that came from Macon Blair, who is also in that Hold the Dark movie, was called I Don't Feel Like I Belong in This World Anymore, I think was the title of it. That was to me, I thought that was just an amazing film. It was one of my favorites of the year, and it was a Netflix original release. So I thought this one would be equally as entertaining, but it was not.
Adam Neville's book got made into a pretty good Netflix movie too, I thought. The Ritual.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, that was good.
All right, I've not seen that. Yeah, I have heard that was good, and I've heard that that I Don't Believe in This World Anymore is also good, but
that was
not
real
watched
good.
that.
It was good.
Cool. I had another question, totally unrelated to movies, but so I was curious about y'all's process. Like, for example, when I wrote my short film for Tales from Mutantville, I did a lot of when I would write, I would listen to a lot of film scores. Like I listened to the Hellraiser score a lot by Christopher Young. I didn't know what do y'all kind of do to set the mood when you're gonna write, or do you have to be in a certain mood, or do you set a certain time and just have to knock it out, or how does that work for y'all?
Oh, I fished through Stephen King's dumpster, and usually that's not true. Anybody listening? You guys want to take this one since I've already shot myself in the foot?
You're the most
listening to music. Yeah, I listened. I definitely try to listen to music. A lot of I try to put together a huge playlist, right, of primarily instrumental music, right. And I'll get movie soundtracks, especially from horror films, and I particularly like to write listening to the Conan the Barbarian soundtrack from the old Schwarzenegger. Right, it's an excellent soundtrack.
It is. It's good.
And then I really like to write to the Mad Max Fury Road soundtrack. That's an excellent soundtrack to listen to. And then there's a lot of video game music soundtracks that are very atmospheric to write to.
Awesome. Yeah, when I was trying to work out,
guys also write. Oh, go ahead. No,
I was gonna say, yeah. When I was sort of working through plot stuff, when I'd be driving or something, I would put a score on while I was driving just to get my mind in that kind of space and stuff. So luckily nobody pulled out or nobody walked out in front of me or anything. But when I was doing that, but
that'd be grist for the mill, though, right?
Yeah.
So do you guys also listen to music when you write, or do you prefer to have it in silence?
I'm a silence.
I like listening to music as well. Sorry. The Blade Runner soundtrack is also great, as well as I like to listen to the Conan one as well. It's pretty funny that you say that, Gregor. It's a great soundtrack.
Yeah, it is.
Anything without lyrics pretty much is going to be good. Old Pink Floyd is always nice.
Yep.
Saucer Full of Secrets. Put that on a loop for a while, and it creates a nice ambience as well.
Yeah, I usually will play music, and I have certain albums that I will play repetitively, and I only ever listen to them when I write. So they're not music that I would ever just put on to listen to in any other setting. But most of them tend to be about 45 minutes in length, which is I've found probably my most creative period that I can write at one time without taking a break. Sometimes I'll really get into a flow and write for hours, but usually when that album ends at 45 minutes, I'll just try to stop and shut it down for the night until the next time. But they're not music. It's not music that I'm proud of. It's more music that does not distract me. It kind of provides a sound blanket, and that usually has a very syncopated rhythm that's right in time with my typing speed. So one album that I listen to very frequently is by a band called Pinback, which I don't even know what genre of music it is, but they have an album called Summer in Abaddon. And for some reason, it just matches my typing speed perfectly, and it doesn't distract me at all. It just kind of hits some part of my brain that keeps me concentrated on writing. So And I've got about 3 or 4 other albums that are in a similar vein, which I don't even know what the names of them are, honestly. I just have them on a playlist and click them and go.
Yeah, I don't listen to music that I listen to when I write doing anything else, right? Like I don't put writing music on when I'm like working in my day job, right? Or cleaning the house or something like that, right? I try to reserve that type of music for just writing. Yeah.
Yeah. That sticks to the whole conditioning thing too, like, you know.
Yeah, set and setting, yeah.
Yeah, because if you're conditioning your mind to do a certain thing when you hear something, it makes sense that, yeah, you would do that.
It's almost like a Pavlovian response. Once that music starts playing, the fingers start going.
No, I mean, I'm a huge believer in condition. I mean, that's definitely a thing, so I definitely think that's a good thing. You can train yourself to kind of go into a certain state just by. That's one thing that's awesome about music. I mean, as a musician, I've just always been fascinated that you can hear a song and it can take you back to like when the first time you heard it, or it can remind you of experience, or it can take you to a certain mood just a few seconds in. So, which is cool about stories too, because that's one thing they can do too, is take you to a different place. And see, that's where I think stories could still be a little scarier than actual movies, because a lot of people, you know, horror movies will, you know, people will say, well, the horror movies nowadays aren't as scary, or when I go back and watch these movies, they're not as scary, which is logical, because if you watch them when you're 9, they're obviously going to be more scary than when you watch them when you're 40. But
right.
But I think stories give you that, because when you're older, your mind can come up with probably even darker stuff and more, you know, because you've seen more stuff, so.
Right, and you've got an unlimited effects budget too, right? So.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem with movies is they always go for the jump scare, and it's not a real scare. I haven't found a good atmospheric horror. I can't remember the last time I watched one. And that's what I keep looking for. So if this Evil Within, or if you have another suggestion, I'm all ears.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I would classify Evil Within as truly frightening, but it will definitely make you feel weird. But by the time it's over, you're going to feel very odd. So it's very effective in giving you that disturbed part of what horror brings. And honestly, I feel like that's more what I get out of horror many times than a sense of fear. Is just a sense of disturbance where I have a lingering effect of things just aren't right inside my mind after I've gotten done reading this thing.
Yeah, like you take a book like, I don't know if you've read Dead Sea by Tim Curran. I don't know, there's been a couple of Dead Sea. It's like you're on this, you literally transport you onto this boat in the middle of a fog. You feel the fog, you feel the atmosphere, everything builds. It's creepy all the way throughout, and it keeps building and building, and it's horror. Movies don't seem to, I mean, maybe because they have the shorter time span, or only an hour and a half to get to it, they just, okay, now this guy jumps out of the closet, you know.
Well, I think that it's got to, I mean, in general, it seems like they've got to appeal to a demographic, a target audience, right, that wants to see a particular type of thing, or at least that's what the studios think, right, that they have to manufacture the film in such a way that it's going to appeal to, you know, basically give people what they want, right? And you know, they're not making like that. You know, this is kind of a weird example, but like, I mean, Exorcist 3. You know, have you seen that? I mean, that's a really pretty good horror film, very atmospheric. It actually has grown-ups in it, right? It actually deals with adult themes, whereas most modern horror films seem to be made for people who are sneaking in to see the R-rated horror films, right? I mean, intentionally, they're not actually made for adults, right? And with adult themes, they're really kind of like amusement park attractions for teenagers.
Yeah, and studios are notorious too about, well, this worked in this one, so you need scenes like that in every other horror movie, and that's just, it just becomes like when I watch horror movies now, I mean, I guess because I've made them and watched so many of them, I just like if I'm with somebody or if I end up just like sort of watching out of the side of my eye, watching for everybody else to jump at the jump scare because I know it's coming. So I'm like,
Right.
okay, here it comes, and there it is, and I just ended up watching the audience just because I know it's coming, and I'm sure they all do too. They just don't know exactly when, but yeah, to me, I think the jump scares can be overdone too, but that seems to be what people. Yeah, I mean, and are they used so much because people like them, or are they used so much because everybody else uses them? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a cheap trick that's effective, right? I mean, it gets a reaction, So, I mean, I think
blame Insidious for bringing the jump scares back and keeping them alive for another generation. The more books I read, and the harder and harder it gets to find something that truly engages me, because after a while you just start seeing repetitions on a theme, or you pick up a book and you're like, oh, this is a Xerox of another better book that I read 3 years ago. But one book that I've read in the last few years that really captured me, I don't know if it worked as well for my friends here on the phone, but was Josh Mallerman's Bird Box, which wasn't really a hardcore horror book, but it was written in kind of a present tense where it gave it a real sense of immediacy, and also it had a premise where it was kind of a post-apocalyptic thing where people had killed themselves, killed other people, or gone crazy if they saw this unnamed evil, and you couldn't describe the narrator of the book couldn't describe what the evil was, because if she had seen it, she would have killed herself, or it would have been over. So the entire book is written from the perspective of a narrator who wears a blindfold the entire book, and it really transports you, I think, effectively into that person's mind and experience of having to navigate the world and find the tools for survival while blindfolded, and does a really good job of that. And so that was kind of what led me in Doorbells at Dusk and really wanting to get Josh Mallerman's participation, since he did such a good job with Bird Box. So we were really happy to have him join us for Doorbells at Dusk with a story called Adam's Bed. I'm pretty sure it's a true story based on Adam's childhood, because it is set in Florida, isn't it, Adam?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that has to do with you, which makes it doubly creepy how even knew about your childhood. But
right,
he's got a movie of Bird Box.
It actually cured my nightmares.
Did it?
It's good as therapeutic.
Very therapeutic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's a Netflix original or something, isn't it? Or is it actually a theatrical release, or is it both?
No, I think it's going to be just Netflix original, but it's starring Sandra Bullock and some other actors that are famous from American Horror Story, whose names escape me at the moment. But I have no idea how they're going to translate a movie where the main characters are blindfolded and navigate the world. And that's kind of what made the book good, is because you had the sensation of not being able to see. But in a movie, you're going to be able to see, just the main characters aren't. So I'm really interested to see how effectively that translates.
Yeah, I don't know that I knew that the premise was, of that was that, right? I mean, it reminds me of a literary novel called Blind, right, where there's like a virus or something that it makes everybody in a town go blind or whatever, or something like that. And it's a similar type of, I guess, a writing challenge, right? To write a bunch of scenes and write a character a bunch of characters that are suddenly blind, right? Yeah, it's interesting. I did not know that was the actual premise of that. I might have to give that a shot.
Yeah, it's a well written book, and when I first started reading it, I thought I was going to absolutely hate it because it was written in my second least favorite point of view, which is third person present. So the only one I hate worse is second person, where it says you are walking down the street, you are doing this and that. But with this one, it was like, she walks across the kitchen, she's feeling her way. So it starts off kind of feeling affected, but it very quickly sucks you in, and you don't even, the pages just kind of disappear for that one. For me, anyway. I don't know.
I agree. It was a great book. I would classify it as a paranoid thriller.
Yeah, that's probably right, because it's really not horror, even though it does have some horror aspects.
Horrific events that occur. It's apocalyptic.
Yeah, it's closer to The Road, probably.
Yeah,
I would say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Making it into film is a little worrisome, though. It was definitely a 5-star read, but I mean, you kind of want to see what's happening, but you don't, because it might ruin what our imaginations can come up with.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting.
That's definitely always a challenge when going from. It's always tough going from a book to a movie anyway, too, because you just got so much stuff you have to condense down.
Right. Yeah, it takes I would have to say it takes a special kind of talent to be able to adapt something like that. I mean, really any book to the screen, I would think.
Yeah, because you potentially have a different audience too, so you gotta think about stuff like that, and plus you've got all the studios, hanging over you too, kind of wondering about how you're gonna market it and all that stuff.
Well, let me ask you a question, Gio. Other than the Riggle twins, is there a movie that you think is better than the book? No, Riggle twins is the epitome of horror stories, Halloween stories. So I tease Gregor, but seriously, I can't. There may be one or two movies I thought that were better than the books, but I can't think of them offhand.
Yeah, my mind's kind of going blank too.
That's better than the book?
Jaws.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, for sure.
Actually, I'd go with James Bond. Ian Fleming. Most of Ian Fleming's work. Sorry.
That's true too. Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah, I've not read the Jaws. Yeah, I've not read really any. I've not read a complete Ian Fleming James Bond novel either. So yeah, couldn't say.
It's been a while since I have. So. And I was trying to think about the whole Mario Puzo and stuff about Godfather and stuff like that, but I don't think I ever read that book.
I know I haven't.
Nor
I have it.
I'd say the Curious George film starring Will Ferrell was definitely better than Curious George.
I don't know.
I've not seen that. Yeah. He was the man with the yellow hat.
Yeah.
I did not. I don't think I knew that, or maybe I just tried to block it out of my brain.
I haven't seen that either.
Into the conversation.
He's about to be Sherlock Holmes too, so.
Oh yeah, the trailer for that looks terrible, man. Oh man, it looks so bad.
Yeah, it looks similar to like Talladega Nights, but they're in England instead of like North Carolina or something. So.
Yeah, it just doesn't look good. That's a horrible looking trailer. Yeah,
it didn't make me laugh. It looked like somebody said this would be a funny idea, and then they actually did it. And when they realized it wasn't funny, they just kept doing it until it was done.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll probably see it because I really like John C. Reilly, but I don't know that. I don't know. Maybe they couldn't really show anything that was good from the movie in the trailer. I don't know. I mean, I really do like Step Brothers, so.
Yeah, just go watch Step Brothers or Walk Hard again if you need.
Right. Yeah.
I do like Walk Hard. I like Step Brothers too because boats and hoes is funny, but yeah, it's like, see, sometimes comedies you will get better stuff that's not in the trailer, but then sometimes movies, all the good stuff is in the trailer, and then you watch the movie, you're like, oh wow, the only 2 minutes of good stuff in this whole movie were shown in the trailer, and I've already seen it.
That puppet movie that just came out, which I hardly admit that I went to see.
I wanted to see it. I'll admit I wanted to see it, but I didn't get a chance.
Which one is that, Jason?
Happy you Time
Born?
Happy Time Murders or whatever.
No, I watched that.
You saw that?
Yeah, I did. I saw it.
You were the one guy. You were that guy, huh?
Actually, it wasn't my idea. That's where the worst part. I got roped into it, and the scene where he just comes all over the place, if I could say that, is the only funny scene in the whole movie.
Oh, really? It's that bad, huh?
Wow, that's disappointing. I wanted to see it.
I mean, the concept of it could be good, right? I mean, but we've already seen it called Meet the Feebles, right? I mean, it's essentially the same type of thing.
You make a puppet movie, it's got to be funny.
Yeah, yeah. Or just really depressing and depraved, right? You know, and it doesn't sound like he accomplished any of those things. And it's Henson's son that actually made that film, right?
Whoever it was should.
Yeah, it's Jim Henson's son that made that movie.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Yeah.
His daddy must be so proud. I think
it's going to be a long time before we see another dirty puppet movie, though, based on the way that one was received.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And there's supposedly, I guess not supposedly. I guess there's a Netflix original TV series or something based on Dark Crystal that's coming out. Have you seen that? Seen the trailers for it or the promos for it?
I haven't seen it, but the original was that creeped me out as a kid.
Oh yeah, that was a good movie. Yeah, I tried to make my daughter watch that. I don't know, when she was like 7 or 8, and she made me turn it off and then like 5 minutes. Yeah, so we've not gone back to that.
Yeah, I think I saw a trailer for the Dark. Like, I was recently, a couple months back, they showed Labyrinth was back in the theaters. I went to Salisbury and watched it, and it was cool seeing it on the big screen.
Yeah,
I bet it would be, because wasn't that like a 4K restoration as well? I believe it was.
And they actually had a short film that was, I guess, shot around back then. That was kind of, they showed right before the movie too. It was interesting. So yeah, it was.
And both of the ladies in that film, David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly, were hot. And I just lost some fans.
No, well, it's always fun to. You can always find some more. But anyway, I guess I should wind it down. I just noticed what time it is. We've been going for a while. So we should finish with where do people find the book? I'm guessing Amazon, if I had to go out on a limb.
It is available actually everywhere. So if you do a search for Doorbells at Dusk, it's available in ebook and paperback pretty much at any book retailer. So I think you'll have wide availability for that. Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. Isn't it even available at Walmart now, Gregor?
Yes, you can now buy ebooks at Walmart.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's everywhere. And also, we also released this Halloween the Bad Apples complete collection. So you've got all 3 of the Bad Apple series in one book. So that's a good value as well. So you save some money off of buying all 3 of them.
Correct.
That's available now this Halloween as well.
That's what, like 700 pages or something like that.
It's over 700 pages of horror. So Halloween horror, it'll serve you for years to come.
Cool. And such a blend of styles too. I mean, it was great working with the guys here and the other authors. I mean, everybody had such a unique style to bring to the table.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate y'all coming out and being on the show, and I'm sure we'll talk to y'all again soon.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, but I do want to say that folks need to watch The Evil Within and then The Greasy Strangler. That's all I need to say.
That's all you got to say about that?
Yes, that's all I got to say about that.
Okay. Cool. Cool. I actually have a on my phone. I've got an app, and I actually have a movie list, and I added that. So,
Breezy Strangler, the life story of Gregor Xane.
Well, it's fictionalized, but it is based on my life. Yeah. So yeah, you should definitely give that a watch if that's already in your queue, Mr. Geo.
Cool. Will do. And I'm sure we can have you guys back too, so talk more about movies. Next time we'll get Strebo on here, and he's actually seen a lot more movies, and he could have intelligent conversations instead of just going, nope, hadn't seen it. So, but cool.
Well, we really enjoyed you having us. It was a lot of fun talking to you.
Cool.
Indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Visit mvpmutantradio.blogspot.com to download your favorite episodes of MVP Mutant Radio.